But he can hold his head up high, can he not? Because he was willing to do it. And boy, my respect for him went up 1,000%. That's what we need to learn to do throughout our whole lives, is take responsibility. And it starts when we're young, but let me tell you what, there's a whole lot of adults who have not yet learned yet to take responsibility for themselves. So if you guys get a handle on this now, whew, sky's the limit and life's going to be much better for you. So try to figure that out. Are not in constant search to complete themselves. You do not need something to make you you. Right? The idea behind this is your worth is determined not by what you do or don't do, but because you were created in the image of the God who created you and loves you. That is your worth. And nothing you do or don't do can diminish God's love for you and the love he has for his creation in you. You are a workmanship of God, and you have worth in that. Now, are there things that you can achieve? Are there ways that God can use you? Are there skills that you can gain that will make you more available to God in a lot of different environments? Absolutely. But they are not to complete your worth. Does that make sense? All right. Being less concerned over being loved and accepted and what will someone think. Have you ever thought, well, I don't know what Susie will think? Why are you making your decision based on what Susie will think, right? It's okay to ask somebody's opinion as long as you understand the choice is still yours. As long as you don't feel obligated to go with that opinion simply because that person said it, right? Be self-differentiated, make your own choice. Another way of putting this is it's better to be concerned over it's better to be concerned over how you are loving and how you are accepting than how you are being loved and accepted. So put your focus on that. How can I be more loving? How can I be more accepting? That's a self-differentiated person rather than worrying the other way. And the last thing on the list is that, and this is not a complete list in any way, shape, or form, but they are less anxious individuals. Wouldn't you like to be less anxious in your day? Wouldn't you like to worry less about what other people are thinking, what other people are doing, and all of that, and be more confident in yourself? These are some of the ways you can begin to achieve that. Becoming more Christ-like in being responsible for yourself, for your choices, having responsibility to other people but not for other people, and moving forward. So the last part I want to go over quickly before we move on to the test and the anxiety grows is appropriate discipline. When we work with children, youth, and vulnerable adults, we should be aware that their appropriate behavior is expected at all local, district, and conference events. So anytime you are working with children, youth, or vulnerable adults, there are appropriate behavior guidelines that you need to follow. Gentle reminders are always necessary with dealing with children, youth, and vulnerable adults. When those in your care find the expectations and reminders to be insufficient to achieve success, then those in supervisory roles should address the unacceptable behavior. All that is to say, if you have tried some of the techniques we're going to give you in a few minutes to handle a child in your classroom who's being unruly or disrespectful, then you may need to ask for help from up above to deal with it. It is never appropriate to do what I saw about 20 years ago at a camp when an adult male picked up a kid and put him up against the wall because he was tired of dealing with the kid's mouth. Not appropriate. Can't do it, right? Those are not ways to handle stuff. And, of course, that individual, it was a pastor, by the way, was let go and sent home and was written up from higher up for his actions. Okay, so what we need to do is you have some techniques so that we can employ those instead of getting ourselves so distraught that we respond in an inappropriate way. Prevention techniques such as careful supervision, right? So while you're working in the room, careful supervision, keeping an eye on what's going on. When you see something going on between two kids, if you're aware of it, you can stop it before it gets to be a big deal, right? So that's your first way to head off problems in a classroom and to keep the kids safe. Another one is to help the child, youth, or vulnerable adult to regain control through calming techniques. Let me tell you a couple of the calming techniques you can use. You can use what we did just a few minutes ago. Everybody take a deep breath. And you can do that a couple of times, right? That will help to get oxygen to their brain. If you are acting in an irrational behavior, you don't have enough oxygen going in your brain any longer, so you need to get that oxygen up there. So that can be a technique. Another one you've seen teachers do is they do, and everybody responds. Everybody responds. Come on, work with me here. And I go. All right, so again, you're pulling everybody back in, getting their attention, and bringing them back into control. What is something else teachers did? Then they have a sign. Some of them will do this or whatever, so different teachers have different techniques. One of the ones that I used to do as a youth director was to sing a little song quietly. Listen, listen, listen to my heart song. Listen, listen, listen to my heart song. I will never forget you, I will never forsake you, will never forget you, I will never forsake you. And I would just sing it till everybody came down and got quiet. Now my kids will tell me it only worked because they got sick of hearing me sing. I don't care, it worked, right? So you find what technique will work with you, but use it to kind of bring them back in control. You can ask them you can tell the group, hey, everybody tell me 3 things you can see in the room. All right? And someone will holler out, oh, I see praying hands over there. I see a tree on the thing. Well, now tell me 2 things you can smell. And they'll list those things up. They may tell you, tell me something you can taste in this room, right? So again, you're grounding them in the present. You're bringing them back to the moment, having them identify things that are around them, and bringing them back to control. So I understand asking what they can smell might not be an appropriate thing. But anyway, at certain times, right? But it'll bring them back into control. Okay. Spend your time talking to or playing with children in the group and the area rather than other volunteers. Again, if you're interacting with them, they're less likely to go off the rails. These interactions will help children feel loved and will reduce any possible discipline issues. Distraction and redirection techniques should be tried. All right? Hey, what's that? Everybody turns. You can get their attention, especially if you're outside. Wait, whoa, what was that? And everybody turns, and you get them back to that. In a classroom, it might be they're fighting over the blue truck, and you pick up the red fire engine, and it makes a noise, whatever. Somebody has to imitate it, I don't know. Whatever a fire truck sounds like, right? And that can pull their attention, and, now this kid who really was fighting over the blue truck may go, I want that one. So again, use distraction and redirection techniques. Occasionally, an opportunity to think things over may be successful for a child, youth, or vulnerable adult to regain control and appropriate behavior. In no event should a single period of separation exceed 1 minute for each year of a child's life. To put a 2-year-old in a corner for 10 minutes is not appropriate. When I was in 5th grade, someone in our house ate some of the donuts without permission. My mother was livid. She put each of us kids in a corner of the house and wanted us to stay there until somebody fessed up to taking the donuts. After an hour, I went in and told her I ate the donuts. She said, you did not go back to the corner. Well, if you know I didn't eat them, why am I standing in the corner? Okay. Was that the most successful use of separate. No. I didn't learn anything about being honest about donuts. I learned if you're honest, it's not always helpful because I was honest, it still didn't help. So we want to be sure that what we're doing is simply for the means for the individual to get back in control of themselves and willing to participate in an appropriate way, okay? So you might say to the kid, hey, you look like you're really struggling right now. I think maybe it might be beneficial for you to have some time out. Why don't you go sit over in the special chair, whatever you call it, thinking chair, whatever, and take a moment just to get under control. When you're ready and you've gotten control of yourself, come on back. You see the difference that makes? So I think we always want to do it for the good of the child, not to just save us from having to deal with it. And a lot of times what we consider now as discipline, which is talked about in a very negative way, what we talk about as discipline is simply because we don't want to deal with it anymore. And so what really has happened is we've lost control of our own emotions and thought patterns, and we've allowed ourselves to become distraught, so we take it out on the kid. So we need to make sure we're in control of ourselves. In no case is physical discipline an appropriate measure to deal with unacceptable behavior. It is never okay. You can use redirect, compromising, negotiating, encouraging them to see other alternatives to create safe boundaries and help them to achieve what they can. So let me give you a couple diverting attention. So to keep another's attention, try some of these strategies. Ask a question. Make eye contact. You can use nonverbal cue to regain attention. Call the individual's name and tell them that you need their attention. You can move closer to the person. You can move to the individual and place a hand on their shoulder. I don't know if any of you go to the dentist here in town. When his wife was his assistant, I began going there. When I was in 5th grade, I broke my jaw. That's a whole nother story. But I had my teeth wired shut and all that. When I went in to get the wires taken off, the dentist had obviously had a horrific day. They sat me in the room, and for 45 minutes, I looked at this needle on the end of this long tube, and I think it was just a water thing, but it looked like that was going to be used on me. And I sat and looked at it for 45 minutes, so I was pretty distraught by the time they came in. And then when he came in, he chose not to give me any numbing. He said, get your tongue out of the way, or when I take these off, I'm going to rip it off. That is what the dentist said to me. So you can imagine that I was traumatized from there on. He clipped those wires and yanked, and blood went this way, and saliva and water. And I tell you, because of it, I'm not real comfortable going to the dentist. So when I go, one of the first things I tell them is I've had a horrific experience as a kid in the dentist's office. I find myself, although I'm perfectly calm, may seem perfectly calm to you, there is a lot of anxiety going on inside of me. Well, the lady there began doing this as they worked on me. Now, I knew good and well what she was doing. It's a diversion technique. You're bringing someone into the present, giving them a little pattern. They begin to focus on that, and it takes their mind off where they're going, okay?